Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report, brought to you by Red Raider Outfitter, the fans' favorite since 1975. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Well, mighty Joe, I can't believe it, but spring ball is almost over already. The spring game is Saturday, and it's actually not going to be at the Jones. It's going to be at Lowry Field because a lot of things happen at the Jones. They're going to get a new surface, new LED lights. Of course, the South End Zone project is going on. Several cranes over there. Just a lot going on. So they're going to be at Lowry Field, which will be different. They've had spring game in Midland before in the past and stuff like that. But Lowry Field's a nice high school field, though. So, I'm expecting a really good crowd there. And it might actually feel fuller than usual for a spring game. So, and there's a lot of optimism surrounding, for good reason, Joey McGuire and the Red Raider football program going into year two. So what are your overall thoughts, and what are you looking for from Texas Tech in the spring game on Saturday?
Yeah, a lot of things. Now, the one thing that everybody talks about, and I don't know, because of that, it's so obvious, maybe we don't need to address it too much, but obviously the offensive line. Yeah. Everybody's like, okay, well, this was the most obvious weakness for the team last year. It's the one thing that they need to get shored up. And if you look at the people coming back and the people they've brought in, the additions, it looks promising. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I think everybody is going to be keeping an eye on. Now, what's going to sort of maybe undermine potentially the evaluation there a little bit is that a lot of the top line defensive linemen, Hutchings, Bradford are not even going to be playing. So, so what you would like to see is those guys pretty much control the line of scrimmage. And that would be a nice thing to see. Lots of other things, I think outside linebacker is a very interesting position. They got four guys at outside linebacker who have two sets of them, actually, very different body types.
Yes.
You got Joseph Adedire, right, and Miles Cole on the one end. Both those guys in the 280, 285 range.
Big dudes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yesterday,
Just great, big, huge outside linebacker type. But then you got the more long, lean guys like Steve Linton and Isaac Smith.
Yes.
So, how are they going to work that? I'm assuming the first two guys that I mentioned are being groomed and to play something of a Tyree Wilson type of a mold, because there's a little bit of that same body type there, and that Smith and Linton are more the traditional outside linebackers who are going to be playing out in space and blitzing occasionally from there, but typical traditional run force at the outside linebacker position as well. Nevertheless, that's four very interesting prospects there who can bring some different things. So I'm going to be watching the outside linebackers a little bit.
Yeah, and another guy you didn't mention, he's a true freshman, early enrollee, so I could figure, I understand why, maybe if you haven't seen this guy, that he wouldn't be the first guy to pop in your head, but Dylan Spencer looks like a man-child out there. And he may be, because what you're describing is trying to replace Tyree with multiple guys, because he is a freak. He is. And NFL scouts are seeing that. He may go as high as 2 in the draft. He's really, people are starting to get to know him, see what he can do, talk to him, watch his film, and they're like, this guy's a freak. And he is. He's one of the biggest freaks I've seen in the decade I've been here. And he's sport at Texas Tech.
That's a great compliment these days. You call somebody a big freak,
right.
30 years ago, and you might, get a knuckle sandwich or something.
Well, he's a super freak. Yeah. So I'm not calling him a jive turkey. I'm saying he's a very talented athlete. He's a cool dude, too, if you get the chance to talk to him. But Dylan Spencer is about in the 250 range already as an early enrollee, and he has the athletic skills to be a good pass rusher. The frame, the long arms, the quick twitch, all that stuff. I was watching him yesterday at practice and was really impressed. But the Lintons and like the Steve Linton, who's the other guy you mentioned? Isaac Smith. Those guys are more like in the Greyhound mold in terms of like they look like they can just get off the ball really fast, very athletic. And I've heard so many good things from the staff about Linton. They are really high on him as a pass rusher. And then, like you said, you have more of the bigger mold, the Miles Cole, those guys, who I think can hold up and set the edge for you. Sure. So it's hard to replace the Tyree Wilson with one guy. Another guy I want to mention, staying a linebacker, who is he's been so impressive. I don't know how much he's going to play in the spring game, but Josiah Pierre. I would be very surprised if either he or Jacob Rodriguez, and another guy to keep in mind, an inside linebacker, is Ty Kana. He's looked really good. He missed last spring ball. That was his true freshman season. He's going to be in the mix. He's going to play a lot. But Josiah Pierre looks like, first off, he's a very articulate, interesting, thoughtful guy. You wouldn't think when you look at him. But he looks like one of the scariest dudes you're going to see on the field at Big 12. And he's like 245, and he's just ripped, and he can run. And this is his third year in the program, second year in the system. And I just expect Josiah Pierre to have an all Big 12 caliber season. I mean, I really like him a lot.
Linebacker sounds going to sound pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, even
I
considering
thought it was going to be a weakness.
Right.
I thought it was going to be a weakness. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. So,
I think it is.
but regardless, I mean, that's a position you're going to want to watch in this game, right?
Yeah.
You know, and what about the backups at running back? You know, I mean, of course, we know about Taj Brooks, but this is an opportunity to see an extended action Cameron Valdez and Bryson Donnell.
Yep.
And those are a couple of talented running backs. I mean, in terms of pure talent, I'm not sure there's much, if any, drop-off from Brooks. You put those guys in there, you know? So, of course, they've dealt with injuries and haven't played extended time up to this point. But, you know, now's a chance to see what those guys can do and what they're going to be able to get done in the running game. And also, big deal is how they do in pass protection, you know, because that determines a lot of how Texas Tech's running backs, how much they play. If you can't pass protect, you know, you may be Tony Dorsett when you got the ball in your hands, but you're probably not going to be out there too much because that's just such a huge part of the offense. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Side note, if you know some of our facial reactions, it's always interesting to film on campus, which we are here at Texas Tech campus. We had one girl hop a curb right in front of us. Looks like she was going to come barreling straight at us. Or if I was getting ready to dodge or whatever, I just got to be faster than Mike Joe, right? Throw him at the car. And then some other girl, you know, almost every kid when they're walking on campus has some AirPods in their ears or whatever. And this girl was just, you know, she had a Bluetooth blaring going by with some, I don't know, some kind of rave music or yeah, I don't know. So never a dull moment. But, yeah, no, I think you brought up some good points. I really like both those running backs. Valdez brings that extra gear that I think you don't really have on the roster outside of him. Bryson Donnell is a Taj Brooks clone. I mean, same size, same kind of back, do it all. Taj is the kind of guy you know in pass pro, he's going to make the right read. He's a solid receiver. He finishes runs by moving the pile forward. If he could be a little more explosive, he could really take another step. I think he wasn't as explosive last year as he had been even the year before. So I'd like to see that from Taj. And then another guy to watch at the running back room is Anquan Willis, true freshman, early enrollee. He looks much bigger than I was expecting. He's another 215, 220-pound guy, but I was expecting him more of kind of a power back because of his size. And don't get me wrong, he does have some power, but he's a glider, one of those striders. Right. I'm not saying he's Eric Dickerson. And he doesn't run like
maybe
upright. Anthony Lynn, okay. But I'm just saying he has that kind of glide and easily cuts and switches gear kind of thing. For a guy his size was actually really intriguing to see that. He's a natural fluid athlete at his size. So that's somebody to watch. I don't expect him to play a lot because there's good backs in front of him, but that's something to watch in the spring game. That's really the main thing I want to see. Of course, I don't want anybody to get hurt. That's the main thing. I mean, that's the obvious. You want to, you know, get out of there without any major injuries. But I want to see the young guys. I think a lot of the veterans aren't going to play. There's a lot of fresh talent, a lot of early enrollees, a lot of transfers, the CJ Baskervilles of the world. I want to see how they play. There's a couple of really good freshman early enrollee safeties, BJ Jordan, Jordan Sanford. I was watching them. Boy, they looked the part. They don't look.
Marion Horn, too.
Yeah, Marion Horn, he's looked good. I saw him pick off Shuck the other day in a drill, in a team drill. So, I mean, he's really quick, boy, once he breaks on the ball. That dude's got some real acceleration. So, who are some other young guys you're looking for Saturday, Joe?
Well, you know, I mean, Quincy Ledet is a guy who comes in with Bradford and those guys and Hutchings out. We'll see what somebody like him can do and how much depth he's going to be able to provide on the defensive line. You know, there's a couple of guys. The receiving position is kind of interesting because you've got tons of size, right? Yeah. I mean, you can go down the list, and it's just Loic, Fungi, Sparkman, Jaran Bradley. I mean, all these guys 6'4", 6'5". Then you got some good possession receivers. But the thing that I'm kind of looking for is who can provide some juice to that unit, some speed, some quickness, some run after the catch action there. And Dre McCray is a guy that's what they brought him in to do, you know. And so what happens with him? And Jordan Brown is a guy who last spring had a great spring game, and I was just going bananas over Jordan Brown, and then he flamed out and didn't do much in the season. But he has the speed and the quickness and the explosiveness. I mean, I know it's there.
Yeah.
So I think that would really help Texas Tech's cause if he could sort of live up to his potential. So, let's see if he has another big spring game and maybe this time carry it over, into the season.
One little side note on Jordan Brown. So he is academic All Big 12, first team All Big 12 academic. So I know you, my Joe, with your 20 degrees, Dr. Yeager, I should call you, will appreciate that, he's still hitting the books. The quarterbacks too is something that I think, throw out what you see in the spring game, honestly. I know people don't want to hear that, but they don't have to worry about getting hit. Even when they've looked bad, like last year they looked bad in the spring game, like I think all of them, and that didn't really translate to the field. So a lot of their running ability, which all these quarterbacks could run, is negated because, it's just a different game for them. So really don't worry about that. And plus the offense is going to be so vanilla. They're going to run a lot of screens, a lot of their basic run schemes. So you're not going to see a lot in terms of firepower from the offense. But Jake Strong is a true freshman early enrollee. He's looked good. His arm's legit. So that's somebody to watch at least because hopefully him being a true freshman, you're not going to see him a lot during the season because you got Tyler Shuck and, but even Barrett Morton, who looks amazing in spring ball. It's hard not to watch him. He's got that kind of charisma about him. He looks different. He looks like a veteran. So that's something to see from Barrett Morton. But anything else you want to see from the spring game, Joe?
Yeah, no, not really. I think that pretty much covers it. It'll be an interesting time to be sure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So Saturday at Lowry Field, Texas Tech spring game. We'll have tons of coverage. Monty Joe will be there. I'll be there. Double T Farmer, Stephen Chapman, our photographer. So look for tons of content from that. We'll hear from McGuire and several of the players afterwards too. So we'll have all kinds of stuff on Inside the Red Raiders for you. But for now, Monty Joe, great stuff as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.